Hey, good afternoon. You know that the US presidential election is going on. During the time, many people in the world think that mainly the what is say backwards countries, mainly the some African countries, maybe some Asian countries, people, not countries, the heads of countries, they all know what is going on there. But the general people who are not much aware, they think that America is a country of dream. America is a country of prosperity. America is a country like heaven. There is no any problem like heaven. They think that it is a country full of joy and merriment and amusement and entertainment. But the fact is not that. The fact is that the USA is also having or facing so many challenges. Do you know what are the challenges? What are the problems being faced by the people in the USA? I am going to tell you one by one. I will not tell you all the problems, but I am going to tell you at least 10 problems facing the people in the United States of America. You see, I think that the people there are very happy, right? And you think that the people there are they all are rich, all are white people, but this is not the fact. You see, according to the you see, at first let me say about some statistics. What there are problem. What are the problems there? In a recent what I say survey by Statista, it was revealed that immigration is a great problem in the United States of America. Immigration, 12% people believe that immigration is a great problem. And then race relation or racism is another problem. You see, white people think that the black people are dirty, are bad, right, corrupt. They think that this is racism is there, very much there. Many people think nearly 8% is believed that that Donald Trump is a problem in the United States of America, because many people, because many academicians and political scientists think that Donald Trump is the worst president so far came in power in the United States of America. So this parties and gridlock or divisions in the country are there. 7% people think. And economy, general healthcare costs and accessibility is another problem. 6% people think. Unemployment or a lack of jobs is not only here in India. Lack of job, lack of government job, lack of decent job is a problem across the world. And it is 4% people believe that. And distribution of wealth and inequality, it is also a problem, because they are 1% richest people are having the maximum wealth, are amassing at maximum wealth, and their wealth is increasing more than 300%, whereas the poor people's income is lowering day by day, or even if it is increased, it is not increased at the rate of the wealth being increased by the rich people, right? So foreign policy general is another problem. And another lastly, I would say that education or schools or affordable education is a great problem in the United States of America. So in education sector there is a great problem. Not only that, crime, violence and judicial system is another problem. And morality, ethics and family values. 100 years ago in India, Swami Vivekananda said about Shraddha, about reverence, about respect. The same crisis is being faced by Indian authorities, and the same problem is not only being faced by India and Africa or what I say, or our developing or what is underdeveloped countries. These kinds of problems, I mean the problems of crime, problems of violence, problems of morality, ethics and family values are being faced by the people, by the family members, by the decision makers in the United States of America also. As a gun control and too many guns are there in the United States, it is believed by many people that gun control is necessary, is the highest need of the hour, because in academic institutions many students are coming to school with guns, and they are using haphazardly and causing many lives, many young lives, because if there is any scuffle, if there is any problem between friends or among friends, students shoot, and many of them shoot indiscriminately, and this is a great problem in the America, in the USA, and the Democratic Party led by Harris is very much supportive to control gun violence. On the other hand, Donald Trump, though supported initially, but he has not done anything. Rather he has retrieved. Rather he has come behind from taking any controlling mechanism in regard to gun violence. Right. So a lack of humanity and respect is another problem. Yes, here in India also we the teachers say that the issue of respect, the respect or Shraddha is decreasing day by day. The same thing is in the United States of America. You see why there will be difference. United States of America is the oldest democracy, while India is the largest democracy in the world. So the problems will be almost the same, almost the same everywhere in the world where people are there. All right, so environment and global warming is another problem there, and dissatisfaction with government, politics and corruption. Corruption is also there in the United States. Not only that, dissatisfaction, people are dissatisfied with the governance and politics. All right, and defense and national security. Defense and national security is also a problem to the people in the United States of America. Apart from these, I would like to say some other examples of the problems in the United States of America. Student debt. At first I would say, being a teacher, I would say at first I would see the interest of my students. I see the interest of the students when the students are free, when the students are happy, when the students are enjoying freedom from fear, freedom from violence, freedom from exploitation. I become happy, right? So I see that the students in the United States of America are having too much debt. Many of the students are drowned in debt burden, right? That is why I say that student debt is a great problem in the United States of America. You see what kind of problem is there? What kind of what kind of student debts are there in the United States? Let me tell you a few words. At first, student debt, right? Student debt, number one. So in a 2022 article, Forbes lists jarring student loan debt statistics in the United States, right? So a student loan debt is 1.75 trillion in federal and private loans. You just imagine, student loan is 1.75 trillion dollar in federal and private loans. On average, borrowers each owe almost $29,000. Each student, on an average, each student in the United States of America borrow $29,000 loan. Can you imagine? Okay, so about 92% of all the students' debt come from federal students' loan, right? So these matters because the student loan debt growth is outpacing the rise in tuition by 353.8%. Can you imagine 353.8% rise of tuition? My God, it is not here in India, right? So many cannot pay their loans. How the students will pay their loans? Because many students' parents are not helping. So the students along with their studies, they will have to do some work. By working, they will have to earn money, and with that money, they will have to pay the loan. So it becomes very difficult for the students, and it becomes a mental tension, mental anxiety, and these mental tension and mental anxiety make many of them frustrated, and students at the young age if they become anxious, even they are frustrated, even they are feared or afraid of repaying loan, how they will continue their studies, how they will do better. So the poor students, the middle class students are facing a great challenge in the United States of America, right? So the Democrats or whichever party may come in power should look into the matter, right? And without additional lines of credit, people keep sinking into debts. So you see, this is a great challenge. Why is this happening? Rising tuition costs are a clear cause, but cuts in state funding in higher education and stagnant wages are responsible too. Right? So two things are responsible: that cuts of state funding in higher education. So the government is here in India also. The government of India is also not allocating enough fund at least we people say that 6% of GDP should be allocated for education, but they are keeping only almost 3%. So that is why there is a problem in education sector also, and the same problem in the United States of America also. And stagnant wages are responsible, and the wages are also stagnant. Wage is also a great factor. In India also, only the central government employees are getting good salary, and some of the CEOs and some of the very good post holders are only earning much, but the average people, common people, are not earning more. That is why here in India also the students are also having almost same problem, but not debt burden. They are having problem of fund crisis, and that is why, due to lack of funds, many Indian students cannot continue their studies, right? Number one, that is one, student debt is the first problem in the United States. The second problem is, I will say, that wage inequality. Wage inequality is another challenge in the United States of America. How? You will not find that there is any country, or maybe 10 or 20 countries in the world where there is gender parity in wage inequality, but everywhere in the world you will find inequality in wage between male and female, between rich and poor, right? So an analysis by the Economic Policy Institute found that from 1979 to 2020, wages for the top 1% jumped by 179.3%. You see, wages for the top 1%, 1.0% jumped by 179.3%. The top 0.1% saw even more growth, 389.1%. More growth, how much? 389.1%. For the bottom 90%, wages grew a meagerly of 28.2%. You just imagine, you just think the gap between wages between the rich and the poor. So inequality has been getting worse in the United States of America. In 2020, the bottom 90% received 60.2% of all wages, which is the lowest share since data tackling started in 1937. In 2021, the top 10% of Americans, and 70% of all US wealth. You see, the difference between CEO pay and pay of typical workers also demonstrated a stark inequality between 1978 and 2018. CEO pay increased more than 900%, whereas while the typical worker only saw an increase of 11.9% hike in their salary. You see the difference. Whereas the CEO salary has been hiked by 900%, on the other hand, the typical worker only saw an increase of 11.9%. So the old saying that the rich keep getting rich rings true in the United States. Same in India also. The rich people are getting richer while the poor people are getting poorer. Day by day, this is happening in India also. The same problem. The USA and India are also having the same problem, right? So wage inequality is a great problem for both the democracies in the United States of America and in India also, right? Two. Number three, healthcare is a great challenge in the United States. So a functioning and affordable healthcare system remains elusive in the United States. According to a KFF analysis of government data, around 1 in 10 adults have medical debt. 3 million people owe more than $10,000. 3 million people owe more than $10,000, right? So black adults, people with disabilities, and those in poor health are most likely to have significant medical debt. Overall, Americans owe hundreds of billions of dollars. COVID-19 also exposed many cracks in the healthcare system. A 2021 article listed barriers to healthcare access, price and costs, inequity, the marginalization of public health, and quality issues as the longest standing systematic problems made worse in the pandemic. The United States system also simply not equipped to handle the pandemic as well. Okay, so healthcare is a great problem, great challenge in the United States of America. In India also similar healthcare problem is there, because many people are not having good good healthcare facilities in rural hospitals or in urban hospitals, also overcrowded hospitals there in India. So this is a challenge. Healthcare is a great problem in India also. Right. Number 4, housing is a great challenge in the United States of America. Housing, number 4, housing. In most places in the United States, affordable housing is very challenging to find. Right. According to PEW research, 49% of Americans said finding affordable housing in their community was a major problem in 2021. This is an increase of 10 percentage points from early 2019. Stagnant wages are deeply entwined with housing concerns. According to 2021 report from the National Low Income Housing Coalition, no workers in any state could afford a 2-bedroom rental home with wages earned from a standard 40-hour work week. In New York, people would need to work 94 hours a week, at the state's $12.50 per hour wage to afford a 1-bedroom rental. The Democrats have said this year that they will try to bring $15 per hour salary if they come in power, right? So in California, there is a $14 per hour minimum wage, which gets you a 1-bedroom rental with 89 hours of work per week. Renting a 1-bedroom in Texas with its $7.25 per hour wage requires a 100-hour work per week. Issues like stagnant wages, debt, and soaring prices are also making home ownership a distant dream for many people, especially millennials. According to apartment list, 18% of millennial renters plan to renting over forever due to affordability issues with ownership. Number 5, voting rights is also another problem. Voting rights, you see, in the United States of America, people are facing voting challenges or voting issues. Voting rights, how this has become voting rights have become an issue in the United States. You see, because of its effect on every other issue, the attacks on voting rights is arguably the most concerning problem in the United States. The Brennan Center for Justice tracks restrictions and between January 1 and January 7 in 2021. What type of problems are there? Now see that 19 states passed 34 laws restricting voting access. You see, 19 states passed 34 laws restricting voting access. Republicans have always wanted stricter voting laws, but in the wake of the big lie that Joe Biden stole the presidential election, they are escalated their attacks. The center continued to track laws, finding that as of May 4 in 2022, at least 34 bills with restrictive provisions were moving through 11 state legislatures. For the entire 2022 legislative session, 39 states will be considering almost 40 restrictive voting bills. So restrictions, what kind of restrictions are there? The restrictions include limiting mail-in voting. Here in India also we require that mail-in voting system is required, but here is no system like this. So restricting Sunday voting, right, and establishing new or stricter voter ID laws and more. These are the restricting factors, restricting features of the US laws that restrict people's voting rights, right. Number 6, reproductive rights. Fulfilling decades of work from conservative politicians and activists, the Supreme Court is poised to overturn Roe and Wade, the case that established abortion as a constitutional right. Politico broke the story in May when they received a draft majority opinion penned by Justice Samuel Alito. The report was soon confirmed, the authentic, sparking protests and outrage. When the official ruling arrives, reproductive rights in the US will be immediately weakened. 13 states already have triggered law on the books, which means as soon as the Roe is overturned, abortion will become illegal in those states with few to no exceptions. Mainly Republicans say that abortion should not be there, should not be the rights. On the other hand, the Democratic Party thinks that abortion is a constitutional right of the people, right? So book banning in schools, in there, number 7 is a problem. In many schools, education, many schools, you will find that many books related to unprecedented, many schools have burned some books which give them opportunity to learn about some sex education, race and racism, right? Conservative groups like Moms for Liberty often use parental rights to justify book bans. These bans could extend beyond school libraries. A Virginia legislator sued Barnes and Nobles with the intent to stop the bookstore from selling two so-called obscene books or to minors without parental consent. So this is fairly a new surge of book bans, but it's currently one of the most pressing social issues in the US. And another, number 8, LGBTQ rights is another problem. And there it is a problem in 2022. The rhetoric targeting LGBTQ community and their allies has escalated. Conservative media, pundits and politicians alike have started groups. Yes, and number 7 problem is book banning in the schools. In the United States of America, out of many problems, you will find that there are some problems relating to students' education. And in recent months, education advocates, librarians, teachers and others have watched in horror as book bans increase across the country. For its first formal count of books banned, PEN America collected over 1,500 instances of individual books being banned over 9 months. Bans have occurred in 26 states across 86 school districts. So this is a great problem in the United States of America. So these presented almost 3,000 schools serving over 2 million students. Books have always been challenged in almost every school, libraries, but 41% of the bans listed in PEN's index found ties to state officials or elected lawmakers, right? So PEN describes this as an unprecedented shift. The books challenged mostly invoke sexual education, LGBTQ identities and the teachings on race and racism. Conservative groups like Moms for Liberty also use parental rights to justify book bans. Could bans extend beyond school libraries? A Virginia legislator sued Barnes and Nobles, a book publishing company, with the intent to stop the bookstore from selling two so-called obscene books to minors without parental consent. This is fairly new surge of book bans, but it's currently one of the most pressing social issue in the United States of America. Number 8, I would say LGBTQ plus rights of people. In 2022, the rhetoric targeting the LGBTQ community and their allies has escalated. Conservative media, pundits and politicians alike have started throwing around the term groomer, a throwback attack accusing gay and trans people of preying on children and recruiting them. NPR names Christopher Rufo, the conservative activist, also responsible for the crusade against critical race theory. As one of the earliest and main promoters of this tactic, Tucker Carlson, who hosts the country's top news cables show, has also accused teachers of grooming students when they talk about gender and sexual identities. Right. So attacks have gone beyond rhetoric and seeped into the law. Florida's "Don't Say Gay" bill is the most prominent, but in the first 3 months of 2022, 238 anti-LGBTQ bills, most targeting trans people, were filed around the country. Groups opposing gay rights have also collected millions in support of LGBTQ anti-legislation. This level of hostility is extremely concerning and suggests a backward trajectory for LGBTQ rights in the United States. So, these are the problems being faced in the United States of America. And finally, number 9, I would say further two more issues mainly. One is number 9, climate change, and climate justice is a great issue in the United States of America. Scientists and activists have been warning about climate change for decades, but little has been done. The United States is starting to see harsher effects of climate change. In 2021, 3 severe winter storms moved across the United States, causing the worst energy infrastructure failure in Texas state history, where there were shortages of energy, water, and food. In a final report, the Department of State Health Services identified 246 deaths, though the death toll could be higher. One study suggested that warning in climate change targeted Arctic warming could be responsible for the storms, as warming increases polar vortex outbreaks. Warm air weakens polar vortexes. They stretch the move south, causing the kinds of storms seen in the Texas. Climate change also extends wildfire seasons and worsens heat waves, like one in June in 2021 in the Pacific Northwest, which killed hundreds of unusual events like the will only become more commonplace. So action is essential in climate justice. Number 10, I would say that racism is a great problem in the United States of America. Racism has been a social issue in the United States for hundreds of years. In the summer of 2020, the country saw the largest civil rights protest movement since the 1960s. Not shockingly, there's been a backlash to the progress sought by anti-racist activists. Book bans, which we discussed earlier, are a common attack, as bans target and the education of children and their understanding of race and racism in the United States. Racism also takes the form of blatant violence. In May, an 18-year-old killed 10 people in a planned attack on black people. His manifesto explained his motives, which included the Great Replacement theory, an ideology that claims white people are being replaced. According to Southern Poverty Law Center's survey, around 7 in 10 Republicans believe to some extent that liberal politicians are trying to gain power by replacing more conservative white voters, and doesn't mean 7 in 10 Republicans will undertake an act of violence, but it shows how prevalent racist ideologies are. You will find that racism is a great problem in the United States of America. Not only that, there are other climate related problems, education related problems, and gender discrimination, and gender inequality, gender violence. All those problems are there in the United States of America. So with these problems, these 2024 presidential election is going to be fought between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, and this election is going to be the toughest one. And if the Democrats win the elections, they will try to solve many of these problems. It is believed by historians and political scientists. On the other hand, if Donald Trump comes back once again in power, there might be border problems, there might be tax problems, there might be Medicare or healthcare problems, and there might be a government which will be in favor of the rich peoples in the United States of America, and the foreign relations and the relations or foreign relations with other nations in the world might be deteriorated, and the global and the United States hegemony or United States supremacy in the world might be decreased or might be fallen, are apprehended by a section of political scientists if Donald Trump comes in power. On the other hand, if Kamala Harris comes in power, there might be many problems solved through her administration and by the Democrats. And with this, I hope that there will be a very good contest, and the election will be what is say fought very genuinely by the political parties, and there will not be any violence, there will not be any rigging, there will not be any problem, and the people will elect according to their wisdom and to the performance of Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, on the basis of their performances and on the basis of their track record. And with this, I would like to close here, and I wish that people will see this video, and if there is any comment, you will put your comment in the comment box in my YouTube channel. The name of my channel is India and Politics, India and World Politics. The name of my channel is India and World Politics, and you may search my name also, Dr. Keshab Chandra Mandal, and I hope that you will enjoy this video. You have known that what are the issues and what are the problems going on in the United States of America, and with this I would like to conclude here. Thank you very much. Thank you.